Hey guys, Ryan from Bocas del Toro, Panama. Today we're meeting with some clients that recently purchased a house from us, and we're going to talk to them and find out how you can do the same thing and move to Panama in 6 questions. All right, let's go.
Hi, I'm Trevor Rose from Southwest Florida.
Hi, I'm Mariana. This is Kip.
Okay guys, so first question that we're going to ask here is one of the basics, one of the big ones that everybody always asks, is why would you ever want to leave your home country? So we know that you guys are from Florida, but you can tell us a little bit about that and why ultimately did you decide to even make the move and want to move out of your home country in the first place?
We're from the United States, from Florida, and we've both done a lot of international travel before we even met, and we both really have wanted to live in a different country at some point, just experience living in a new culture. So we would talk about it every few years, and time was just right. And we have a 4-year-old. She was 3 when we moved, and we thought it was a good age because she was old enough that it wasn't difficult to move with her, but young enough that she's adapted really well and is picking up the language quickly.
Awesome. Okay, question number 2. Why did you choose Panama? Ultimately, that can be a very big decision, right? To get to the point where you finally decide on a particular country. When we moved here, we went to, I think, 10 or 11 different countries and ultimately obviously decided on Panama as well. What made you guys decide and land on Panama?
Yeah, I have been coming to Panama for about just over 20 years. First time I ever came to Bocas del Toro was in 2004. And after having traveled a lot through Panama City, the Pacific side of Panama, Boquete, when I got to Bocas, I really fell in love with just the nature here and just the sheer beauty. But yeah, for me, I've been coming to Panama for a long time and really have been wanting to expatriate to Panama for decades.
We picked our top spots that we thought we could maybe see ourselves in: Costa Rica, Panama.
That's right.
And then went on a few trips toward all of the places that we had on our list, and ultimately decided on Panama. Very accessible from Florida, same currency, so it's pretty simple.
And we gave, Costa Rica a hard look. We really thought maybe it's kind of more in vogue in a lot of people's minds, but there was no question in our mind after having spent some time in Costa Rica that we thought Panama would be better suited to our needs.
All right, and question number 3, obviously Panama was the choice, but Bocas del Toro specifically. This place is off the map a little bit, a little harder to get to, a little harder for people to know about. Ultimately, why did you end up choosing Bocas specifically?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting question because, Panama is a beautiful country. And I was very, very interested in a lot of different parts of Panama, both to visit and to potentially live. Panama City's great. It's a modern city by Central American standards, and it has a lot of fun things to do, nice restaurants. And then the Pacific side, I traveled all the way from Coronado all the way down to Ferryong, which by the Royal Decameron Resort, and there's some nice golf courses there. But ultimately, for me, Bocas had a different vibe than the rest of Panama. Much more of a Caribbean steel drum, slower pace type of atmosphere that I always really just relish. And it's just it's more of a, unlike the rest of Panama, it just has its own unique Caribbean flavor that I've always really enjoyed. And it's quaint here. There's no stoplights. You don't feel like you have that hustle and bustle as you do in other places of Panama, especially Panama City. It just has this kind of very, very kind of simple vibe to it that I've always appreciated. Now, that being said, it's an island. It's an archipelago of islands, and so it's not always as convenient as some of the other places in Panama. Getting things delivered can be challenging, but for the most part, that's kind of why I like it. There's a barrier of entry here. It's hard to get to than other places in Panama, but it kind of creates this very kind of simple enjoyable lifestyle that you would kind of imagine, you know, when you think about Caribbean living, and it's just kind of one of a kind.
Yeah, and we discussed it. If we are really gonna make this move, leave our family and friends, we want to try something really, really different. We don't want to move to a place that feels like it could maybe be, you know, the U.S. We really wanted to go all out and
there's no
focus on
Starbucks
that.
here. Yeah. There's no Kentucky Fried Chicken here. It's just mom and pa type eateries, and it's very kind of locally community driven, and we really like that. I think ultimately that's what we wanted when we moved to a different country.
All right, and question number 4, this one you can be as upfront or as honest or as shy as you want to be about this, but what do you do for work currently that enabled you to make a move like this? You know, obviously after COVID, there's a lot of remote workers and a lot of opportunities for people to do that, but for you guys specifically, how were you able to make this move, both financially and family ties, and how did all that come about?
Yeah, good question. You know, I am semi-retired, and I have several businesses in the States that, you know, fortunately they don't require me to be there every day, and I can manage a lot of my responsibilities online. And so having that ability to just have a good quality internet connection and be able to manage my businesses has really made this possible. And I'll let Mariana answer this, but she was had a very strong career and was a professional, and she kind of gave that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was a corporate compliance auditor. I gave that up to come here, but you can live here on one salary far more comfortably than in the United States.
Okay, so question number 5. So far, to date, you guys are getting settled in pretty well, but what do you think has been the best thing so far about this move and this experience as a whole?
I'm happy to go. I love Bocas. Like I said, I've been coming here for many, many years. The best thing for me is just the pace of life here. If you're into nature and the ocean, obviously, I can't think of a better place to live. It's the most beautiful place I've been, and we're fairly well traveled, but the nature here is just absolutely exceptional. And you know, when you're driving around and just looking at the beauty that surrounds you, it's just hard to get uptight here. And we go to yoga class in the jungle, you know, 2-3 times a week, and the people we meet here are kind of similar adventurous types. For me, it's just the pace of life. And when I go back to Florida, and we go back often, immediately I'm kind of almost like I feel a little claustrophobic with just the sprawl of concrete and highways and stoplights and traffic. And here it's just such an easy pace of living. And if you like nature, this place is second to none.
That's what I was going to say. My number one, the nature. We spend way more time outside than we used to, which was a goal of ours moving here. Just the trees are beautiful, the beaches are incredible, the wildlife, we see monkeys, sloths, toucans regularly. It's just really fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys, last question, number 6. So we talked about, you know, the positive aspects of this and something that you really enjoy. What would be the opposite of that? So maybe you found some sort of challenge or something has shocked you, a culture shock maybe, but what ultimately has been the least part of this? You know, what have you disliked a little bit about this move?
Our biggest challenge for getting here for the move was bringing our pets. It was far more complicated than we had any idea. We brought our dog, and that was difficult but doable. But he came with us when we moved. But we also have a parrot, and that was very difficult, very regulated. We were working with United States export regulations, Panamanian import regulations. We had hired pet relocation agencies in both countries, and it took about a year. It was very expensive and very difficult. But gang's all here now, so we did it.
Yeah, we just persevered. She took on the responsibility of getting the parrot here. Bless her, she really. At one point, we thought it might be impossible to get a bird here, but you know, we prevailed. It's another story in and of itself. For me, the challenges here is adjusting to, the pace. I think that's also, that's the good news and the bad news is that it's a slower pace here. And the house that we bought needed some work, and so dealing with contractors, it's been challenging. One is my Spanish isn't great, and just communicating what I want to happen is sometimes we've kind of missed it. But overall, I've gotten more used to it, and I've kind of cultivated a group of people that I trust to do good work. The other challenge, I guess, is just it's different than America, and it's you have to just kind of slow down and not expect everything kind of like to be as fast and customer service oriented as you're kind of used to if you're coming from a Western country. But again, that also is why we like it here, because it's kind of slowly but surely chipping away from that kind of Western entitlement. Other than that, you have to like rain if you live in Bocas del Toro, because it rains an awful lot. I love it. I love the jungle rain. I think it's part of the charm when it does rain a lot. What else? Anything?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, we thought it was going to be different, and then when we moved, it was even a bit more different than that. But
certainly, it's been pleasant adapting to it. It hasn't been like a huge culture shock, and we're living in misery. Not at all. It's just been something that we've had to identify and just kind of adapt with the new culture. But it's been fun.
All right, perfect, guys. Thank you so much for all that information. Maybe a quick follow-up question, if you don't mind, is if you had any last-minute advice for people, what would that be? And, would you actually still move today, knowing what you know now?
yes, we would still move for sure, knowing what we know now. But that also goes with advice that we got before we decided to make the move, that you really have to give somewhere a good long try before you ultimately say, yes, I love living here, or no, why did we move here? Because there's a lot of ups and downs adjusting to something that's so different. So we said we really need to stay a full 2 years, and then we'll say, how do we like it here? We really needed to give it a fair, long enough shot to make it past the initial up and down and kind of sweet.
So that means you've committed to staying here for 2 years, no matter what.
Absolutely. Yep. And probably, we'll stay much longer than that. But that was kind of like the minimum amount of time, because it's not fair to judge a place, in such a short period of time. And if so, the question, yes, I would absolutely do it all over again. We love it here. I would also, my advice is don't bring a parrot. That would be one.
Unless he's your family member.
We'll get referrals with contractors. That would be two. But yeah, we love it. We really would. We would do it again for sure.
Yeah, we're having fun.